The baby's cord is wrapped twice around its neck, the skin already turning blue in the candlelight. Your hands move fast, fingers slick with blood and birthing fluid as you work to turn the child in Goodwife Porter's womb. Outside, February wind howls through the gaps in the log walls. Your breath comes out in visible clouds even inside this room. You whisper the old folk prayer your mother taught you, the one about safe passage from darkness to light, and press pennyroyal tea to the laboring woman's lips. The baby comes free with a wet rush. You clear its mouth, slap its back. The infant screams. Life wins again. You don't notice the girl watching from the doorway until you turn to clean your instruments. Betty Paris stands there in her nightgown, maybe 9 or 10 years old, the Reverend's daughter, with eyes too wide and unblinking. She shouldn't be here. You open your mouth to send her back to bed, but she's already gone, a pale shadow dissolving into the dark hallway. 3 weeks later, Betty and her cousin Abigail Williams start having fits. You're in the meeting house when it happens, 200 villagers packed into the space, meant for half that many. The girls scream and contort, throwing themselves on the floor, barking like dogs. Their bodies twist into shapes that should break bones. Village Doctor William Griggs stands over them, his face grave. The evil hand is upon them, he announces, and the room erupts in terrified whispers. Reverend Paris calls for a day of fasting and prayer. When someone asks if you've seen anything unusual in your work as midwife, you speak the truth without thinking. Girls sometimes play act for attention. This seems like hysteria to me. The woman beside you takes a half step away. You notice but don't understand. Not yet. By the 1st of March, 3 women sit in chains at Ingersoll's Tavern, the temporary courthouse. Tituba, Reverend Paris's enslaved woman from Barbados. Sarah Good, the beggar who curses when denied alms. Sarah Osborne, elderly and bedridden, who hasn't attended church in over a year. Magistrates John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin preside from behind a rough wooden table. The air reeks of beer and fear sweat. You watch as the afflicted girls perform for the court. When the accused look at them, they scream and convulse. When the accused look away, they fall silent. Sarah Good denies everything. Her own husband testifies against her. Says she's had a difficult and unpleasant nature. Tituba confesses. You suspect she's trying to avoid the noose, and you're right. She names accomplices, describes meetings with the devil, gives them exactly what they want to hear. The girls nod and smile. You whisper to your neighbor, "This is madness." She moves to a different bench. The accusations spread like fever through Salem village. By April, 39 people are named as witches. Martha Corey, a full member of the church, questioned the trial's legitimacy. She was accused within days. Rebecca Nurse, 71 years old, nearly deaf, known throughout the colony for her Christian charity. The girls say her specter torments them. Your friend Mary Easty tries to defend her sister Rebecca. She's accused the same week. Even 4-year-old Dorcas Good is imprisoned, put in chains so heavy she can barely stand. You see the pattern. Independent women. Property disputes. Church faction rivalries. The accused are those who've spoken out, owned land without husbands, showed too much learning or too little fear. Governor Phipps returns from England in May and establishes the court of Oyer and Terminer, Latin for to hear and determine. The trials will be official now, legal. 23 of you sign a petition supporting Rebecca Nurse's innocence. You write your name clearly, without hesitation. She's a saint if ever one walked Salem. Surely truth will prevail. In May, Goodwife Abbott's labor starts 3 weeks early. You deliver her son in a difficult birth that lasts 14 hours. The baby lives. He's healthy, perfect, except for a port wine birthmark on his left shoulder, shaped like a crescent moon. You've seen 100 birthmarks. Him, she whispers. You marked my baby him, she whispers. You marked my baby with the devil's sign. You try to explain. It's natural. It will fade. Some babies have them, But she's not listening. She's remembering the old folklore about witches' teats, how the devil marks his servants. She's remembering that you signed a petition for Rebecca Nurse. She's remembering that her neighbor, 2 farms over, was accused last week for much less. 3 days later, the constable comes to your door. Your children beg you to confess. Your son, 12 years old, grabs your skirt with both fists. Just say you did it, Mama. Just say the words so they'll let you go. Your daughter, 8, won't stop crying. You kneel and hold them both, breathing in the smell of their hair. I cannot confess to what I have not done, you tell them. God knows my heart. That must be enough. Constable George Herrick puts iron shackles on your wrists and ankles. 8 pounds of metal. You walk 15 miles to Salem Town Jail, chains rubbing your skin, raw and bleeding. The prison is 70 feet by 30 feet, and it holds more than 50 people. Stone walls weep moisture. The single small window lets in a shaft of weak sunlight for 2 hours each afternoon. The rest is darkness. You must pay for your chains, your food, even the straw you sleep on. Your children are taken in by a neighbor who makes it clear this is a burden. No one wants a witch's spawn. Rebecca Nurse is in the same cell. This 71-year-old woman who brought you chicken soup when you had fever, who helped birth your daughter, who's never spoken an unkind word. She's shackled to the wall like a dangerous animal. She smiles when she sees you, her face a map of wrinkles and resignation. So they got you too, Sarah, she says gently. I'm sorry. The next day, they bring you before Magistrate Hathorn in the packed meeting house. He's famous for his leading questions, for presuming guilt. How long have you been in the devil's service? He asks. Not if. How long? I have served God all my life, you answer. I know nothing of the devil. The afflicted girls immediately begin to scream. They throw themselves on the floor, mimicking convulsions. The birthmarked baby, now 1 month old. The birthmarked baby, now 1 month old, displayed to the jury like a trophy. Your herbal remedies, called devil's potions. Your petition for Rebecca Nurse, presented as proof you're part of a coven. And spectral evidence. The girls swear your ghost visits them at night, pinches them, chokes them, tries to make them sign the devil's book. A neighbor testifies that your cat looked at him strangely 4 years ago in 1688. He's certain now it was a familiar spirit. Magistrate Hathorn orders you to recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly. It's believed that witches cannot do this, that the holy words will choke them. You've said this prayer 10,000 times. You know it like you know your own name. But your throat is dry with fear, your tongue thick. You recite, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. You stumble on one word, just one, nerves making you trip over a syllable you've spoken since childhood. Even the devil can quote scripture, Hathorn shouts triumphantly. Load her into a cart and drive her up the rocky outcrop called Gallows Hill. She maintains her innocence to the end. I am no witch, she cries as they put the noose around her neck. I am innocent. They kick the ladder away. There's no trapdoor, not in 1692. She strangles slowly, her body jerking and twitching for long minutes while the crowd watches. Her corpse swings in the wind for hours, a warning and a spectacle. You realize the system is rigged. Every person who confessed to witchcraft, Tituba, and dozens of others, sits in prison but lives. They're kept as witnesses. Their false confessions used to condemn the innocent. Everyone who maintains their innocence goes to the gallows. The choice is simple and horrifying. Lie and live, or tell the truth and die. Sarah Good's baby dies in her arms in July, a tiny thing that never had a chance in this cold, dark place. The women are stripped and searched for witches' marks. Any mole, scar, or blemish is recorded as proof of devil worship. Giles Corey, 80 years old, refuses to plead either guilty or not guilty. They press him to death with stones. 2 days of agony, trying to force him to enter a plea. His last words are, "More weight." He dies before he can be tried, which means his property can pass to his sons instead of being seized by the colony. Even in death, he finds a way to resist. A minister visits you in the stinking darkness. He urges you to confess, to save yourself, to think of your children. "I will not confess to a lie," you tell him. "If God wills my death, I die innocent." Your trial is July 28th. Chief Justice William Stoughton presides. 12 men on the jury, all church members, all terrified of being accused themselves. The prosecution presents the same evidence that condemned Bridget Bishop: spectral evidence, the girls' performances, testimonies about your prideful nature and unwomanly independence. Your herbal knowledge is called unnatural learning. How does a simple woman know so much about healing unless the devil taught her? The afflicted girls perform brilliantly. They mimic your every movement. When you shift your weight, they shift theirs. When you clasp your hands, they clasp theirs. When you look at them, they scream and fall to the ground, claiming your specter is choking them. When you look away, they recover instantly. You speak with quiet dignity about your life. 89 babies delivered over 15 years. Neighbors nursed through sickness. Your children raised in Christian faith, taught to read from the Bible, instructed in prayer and virtue. Your late husband, dead 3 years now, was a respected farmer who served on the village council. Magistrate Hathorne cuts you off. "The devil can take pleasing form," he says. "Your works prove nothing." The jury deliberates for less than an hour. Guilty. Sentenced to hang. August 19th dawns red and terrible. They load you into the wagon with 4 others: Rebecca Nurse, Martha Carrier, John Willard, George Burroughs. Burroughs was a minister, educated at Harvard. The wagon climbs the rocky hill at dawn. Hundreds have gathered. Some weep. Some look satisfied. Some are already doubting. Reverend Cotton Mather sits on horseback addressing the crowd. George Burroughs asks permission to pray. Standing on the ladder with the noose around his neck, he recites the Lord's Prayer perfectly, without a single stumble. The crowd murmurs, uncertain. Witches can't do that. Everyone knows. Maybe we've made a mistake. Maybe... Mather's voice booms out, cutting through the doubt. The devil can appear as an angel of light. The executioner kicks the ladder. Burroughs drops. The rope snaps tight. His body convulses. You scan the crowd and find your children. Your son holds your daughter, both of them crying. You lock eyes with them. "Remember, I died innocent," you call out, voice steady and clear. "Live in truth." To the crowd, "I am no witch. I am innocent. God will judge between me and you." The noose is rough hemp against your throat. The ladder is kicked away. There's no instant snap, no merciful broken neck. Just slow strangulation. The world going dark at the edges. Your body's desperate fight for air. It cannot reach. The last thing you see is the blood-red sun on the horizon and your children's faces. The trials end 3 months later. Governor Phipps's own wife is accused, and suddenly spectral evidence is deemed unreliable. The court of Oyer and Terminer is dissolved in October. By May 1693, all remaining prisoners are pardoned and released. 25 people died. 19 hanged, 1 pressed to death, 5 dead in prison. If you had just survived 4 more months, you would have walked free. The confessors, Tituba, and dozens of others who lied to save their lives were eventually released. They lived. Your integrity, your refusal to confess to a lie, was your death warrant. The system punished truth-tellers and rewarded perjury. In 1711, the Massachusetts colony reversed the convictions and paid reparations to survivors. Your children received £7 for your wrongful death. In 1957, the state formally apologized. In 2001, the final exonerations were issued. 309 years to admit what should have been obvious in 1692. You died because you wouldn't lie. You thought your innocence would save you. But the trials were never about truth. They were about fear and power and property and control. 25 people paid with their lives for the crime of being inconvenient, independent, or unlucky. Your body was buried in a shallow grave on Gallows Hill, unmarked and unmourned by any official record. But centuries later, a memorial stands with your name among the 25. Not a witch, just a woman who chose integrity over survival. That's a wrap for today. The Salem witch trials of 1692 to 1693 killed 25 people and imprisoned hundreds more. The story you just heard is based on the documented experiences of real victims like Rebecca Nurse, Martha Carrier, and Mary Easty. The trials ended not because justice prevailed, but because powerful men's wives started being accused. Suddenly, the evidence wasn't reliable anymore. It took over 3 centuries for the last victims to be officially exonerated. Here's the question that should haunt you. Would you confess to a lie to save your life, or would you die telling the truth? There's no right answer, just the terrible weight of an impossible choice. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story moved you, hit subscribe for more forgotten voices from history that deserve to be heard.